Welcome to another episode of Tres Leches Radio. It is yours truly, Radimus, aka Rad Soul, representing 1/3 of the trio. Gentlemen, say hello.
Yo, you know what it is? B Stacks, B Gotti.
Laughing at everything.
Gang banging.
Doing like,
man. And of course, you know what it is, the guy Rensmatic. What's good? And welcome to another edition of Tres Leches Radio. You know what I mean? Nah.
Yeah, we're just gonna ad lib, just like if this is a rap record, right? Like,
and tonight, especially with some of the the events that happened recently, we wanted to start a little topic of giving roses, paying homage, and not so much paying homage to everybody, but looking at the concept of that. Recently with DMX passing, rest in peace. It kind of had us wanted to, reflect on things as far as our culture is concerned, how we give praise to our icons and legends, and how, we could, maybe do a better job, at that obviously here. So, with somebody like DMX, and we can all contest to that he definitely got his flowers, while he was alive. It wasn't a situation where he passed away and all of a sudden, we're all like say, oh, he was a great rapper and everything else. Like even at his lowest points, we all know that, nobody ever spoke bad, about X. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We always knew what he brought as far as essentially, bring that street element back during the shiny suit era and everything else. If y'all want to, chime in as well, obviously.
Yeah. So X, he was just so big and so monumental and so, influence, like he just had such a hold that it was kind of hard for people to ever forget about him. I think the verses definitely gave him like a boost at the very end, because he really wasn't on the tip of everybody's tongue, to be honest, the last couple of years. But I will agree that he definitely wasn't one of these guys that we're going to talk about that felt like his art wasn't enamored while he was living and breathing. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree that he got his flowers, as it was appropriate. And I will say maybe for the younger generation and maybe for like some of us that were in the era, that kind of like knew all about DMX, but was just like, man, like he was a little deeper than just like energy and excitement and aggressive, bravado. So that would be the only kind of hole I could like dive in is that's what I saw. I saw people that were our age and a little older and a little bit younger, but was still in the era. And that was like, damn, I could have paid attention to him a little bit more, but for the most part, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
He definitely got his flowers during and even after. Rest in peace, X.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it's funny too, because I understood the comparison, but I never liked the comparison. A lot of people said like he was like the East Coast Tupac or the other Tupac remnants, and completely different styles, but what the correlation was their energy, their charisma, and what they brought, like, people that's around the world that's feeling that energy, that lot, they're like one of a time, generation acts that you don't often see. And he definitely had that type of pop energy, and so forth. But when we're talking about people like X and stuff, and we're talking about giving their roses, now I kind of feel like where this came from, essentially, but how do you think the term came from, at least on the hip hop, aspect, as far as giving the rose, like the origins of it? If how will you break it down? So how this kind of started?
I think you. Oh, go ahead, B-Stacks.
The history that I've come across and experienced is that in a funeral, when someone passes, that's like the flower of token. You send roses to the family, you send roses to the widow, or whoever is left behind. I would say in hip hop, the first time that I saw it as a thing, I would say would be B.I.G. I'm not saying it's the first, but I remember seeing like his funeral on TV going through Brooklyn, and they had the rose petals on top of the casket. And I mean, there've been famous rappers that passed away before him, but I don't believe that they were like televised funerals. I think that was like the first televised funeral. I could be wrong, but
that's the first one I remember as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I think pop stars got that treatment probably, right? Like you had to be like a pop star at that point to get that kind of treatment, and he got it. They drove him through his block.
It was on CNN, whatever the major news channel.
Yeah, every major news. Yeah, they definitely had that showing.
But I think I think it's really is just as simple as showing someone, person, friend, family member, whatever, that they are loved and appreciated, and that you appreciate them in this life, especially yours, and that they know that. Let them know that while they're still living. Give people flowers where they can still appreciate them, smell them, and that applies to everything. That's like a life thing, right? But with music, it's just like, yo, don't wait till the artist pass to throw up all these these social media posts from the major publications just because it's going to drive traffic to your page or whatever, right? Like, let people know that like that what their value is, what their worth is while here, especially if you actually feel that way. That's how it strikes me in any era.
Yeah. And does it piggyback off of you on Stacks, like the whole Big Pac thing in general? It's like, to me, because when we look at it, hip hop now is over 40 years old, but we're still such a young genre based off like the comparing to like rock, R&B and so forth. And I think for us, especially, and we were, so kids or pre-teenies, whatever, at that point, that was really the first time we saw like our idols gone in a sense, at such a young, early age. Like prior to that, I mean, granted, you had other passings, other rappers, but not of the stature of a Tupac or of a Biggie. You know what I mean? At that point, and to me, it was almost like at that time where I don't even think nobody was thinking about giving roses like that to Big or Pop on that level that we're looking at now during then, because they're in the early stages of career, they're going to blossom, whatever, and it's like boom, they're gone. Now it's like, oh man, we got to praise them, we got to talk about their contributions and so forth. And to me, like that's kind of been the theme ongoing now, where we're starting to do it while they're alive, but it's like a lot of times, like not till they pass away, we're like, oh, we're reminiscing or whatever, instead of giving them their just due and praise, while they're alive. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this ties into what you're saying. Like, I think the new generation, they'll be quick to say, oh man, what you call him is the GOAT, or such and such is the GOAT.
They call it classic like 5 minutes after it came out. They're a very rushed generation.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I'm like, you guys are pushing it. But like, at least at least they're appreciating. We could kind of go. We could debate on like the functionality of the appreciation.
Yeah,
I'd even challenge which of them are appreciating and which of them just want the retweet, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it could be both. Is really what I'm trying to say. There's a mixed bag in there for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I just say that our era and young and older. I don't know, man. It was harder. I feel like it was like if we felt that way, then we had to have our ducks in a row. We had to have like our reasonings, our tracks. Like we had to have our proof, our background to even say like, yo, this guy, the guy that I like is the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and we'll probably touch on, I think, some of the reasons why, but overall right now, since we're talking about like, obviously talking about X already having his flowers beforehand, but what other rappers offhand, we can just write a couple names off. I don't have to be, long list or whatever, who we feel dead or alive, who got their flowers when they should have got it, offhand.
I think the obvious names, right? Like Eminem, Jay, Nas, Outkast, Tribe, Snoop, and even like in the current generation, it like Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and J. Cole, like they get their flowers from their fan base for sure, especially with social media in this era. Those are just the ones. Yeah, B-Stacks, I don't know if you got anything to add to that, but I think those guys have gotten their flowers.
Yeah, I would say the obvious. Like I had Jay and Nas; those were the first two that came. I think both of them definitely got their roses in different ways, you know, but the same outcome. Yeah, you know, like I would say, like even like a guy like Scarface, who, you know, who probably like it's like a Hall of Fame, right? We talked about this in the notes, but like Hall of Fame is like, you know, Face probably should have got his roses like 15 years ago, but he got them. But he got them. He's getting them. You know, so even like guys like a Scarface, I would say those would be like 3 examples that I feel like they've gotten them. They're living well. You know, they don't have it. They're not like in pity party situations.
And Brandon, that's a great example because Scarface, even in his career, he's gotten his flowers from, you know, like the guys after him. Like we said, Jay and Nas, like they've like top 5'd him in their lists and stuff and worked with him. Like, so not even like just flowers from, you know, like the audience, but like peers or, you know, or like even like from the generation that came after, right? Hip hop's one of those like as it's gotten further, there's usually like that generational clash, but Scarface like has gotten his flowers from the guys that grew up on him, you know, like that was a good example. That's a very good example.
And you said Dead or Alive. So I forgot Dilla was my 4th one. Dilla he was like probably I'm gonna say Big L kind of started it from our, you know, era, but like Dilla, you know, when he passed away, it was just a up climb of appreciation for him, you know. Whereas he got it when he was alive, but it was more like peers, you know. It wasn't the audience.
The publications made it a point to give him his flowers after he died. Once the news of his passing would generate the traffic, you know. But there was people in those reports where you knew they were like, if they were interviewing Common, you know, like Common had a history with him, you know what I mean? Like, that was like a legitimate, you know,
tip, you know, for sure. Like one offhand I thought about was, you know, the God MC himself, Rakim. Like, you know, it don't matter if you're the biggest hip hop fan or not, you know who Rakim is. You know, like he can drop tomorrow and it could be a dud, but you're not going to question his legacy, you know, his imprint on the game. Like he's considered damn near the architect as far as rhyme schemes, complex rhyming, you know, especially when we're talking about like a Nas, you know, like an Eminem, like with the complex bars, the original complex bar guy was Rakim. He was that measuring stick if you were trying to be, you know, a top tier MC.
He comes before everybody we named. He is
you
like
know,
God MC. He comes
like people call themselves the God MC, but they're not the God MC. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever questioned. Yeah, exactly.
Shots fired, Hove.
Exactly. Obviously, if we're talking about Dead or Alive, Pac, you know, a lot of, I think, especially for the younger people, came maybe after he died, but like you can go to Germany and they got statues of Pac, like literal statues of Pac, forget murals. And so they got statues of Pac in Europe, like, you know, and that's like crazy, you know,
college courses on his music,
courses on the music and so forth. I mean, if you're talking about this is poetry, forget the rapping, this is like his poetry, how his poetry is analyzed in English classes on a college level, you know, and this the influence that he has. Like you can go to any country. You mentioned Tupac, they know exactly what you're referring to. You know what I mean? And that's power, you know, right there as far as what he's did. One name who just came up, and I think you kind of brought it to my attention, Brandon, when you mentioned Scarface, is Bun B. You know, and to me, it's crazy. I think it was literally started with Jay in a sense when he got, you know, UGK on Big Pimpin'. But when you really think about, especially with Texas music and everything, and then the South music overall, and then even with East Coast trying to ride that wave, Bun B was that go-to guy. Like if you were looking for somebody on an OG status or somebody you gave props to, it was Bun B, to the point where even Slaughterhouse called him like honorary member, you know, just because they respected what he brought to the table lyrically, and that's his overall influence.
And you know, man, the interesting thing with Bun B is that when he lost his group member to prison, not when Pimp C died, but when Pimp C
went to the prison,
and the whole Free Pimp C movement in 2005, that actually as he was trying to big up and support his member, to me, that is the moment where he was globalizing hip hop. Where it was like, damn, like now it's like it's just so much attention. Like, and he wasn't even trying to do it for himself. He was trying to bring attention to his other group member. I think that was the moment where the flowers came in a different way, though. You know what I mean?
Different way.
In a level of awareness.
Yeah, that, and he almost came almost like to me, almost like an ambassador feel of the culture.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like nobody was saying free this or free that until he like, yo, free Pimp C.
Yeah.
And now it's so cliche now. You know, somebody, free who, whatever, but like nobody was doing.
Did Pimp C go to jail before Tony? I can't remember that. Was he in jail before Yayo? Because I remember the free Yayo movement. I can't remember the timeline of that.
Pimp was in there because Pimp was in there for a minute.
I want to say Pimp was after Yayo.
You think so? I think Pimp was in before Yayo.
Yeah, I can't remember the timeline. It's just I'm remembering the Yayo one because at one point G Unit was just the biggest thing on earth.
It's gotta be close.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
For sure. But all right, so we've discussed so far like what the origins of giving your roses, giving your flowers, and people who you already know are like, you know, givens. But let's talk about artists who we feel should be getting their flowers on a more consistent basis, but are not. You know, and they will.
I don't care we did an episode.
And we got the episode right here. We're gonna plug the link in at this point in the video. I could do that on YouTube.
That's very valid though. I mean, we talked about his contributions on that episode that he doesn't get credited for just because the whole 50 people coming to punchline. No, that's a very valid answer. I accept that answer.
Wait, you said that's your real answer, Brandon?
No, it's one of them. He's one of them.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I agree with that. I think people let the 50 Cent thing. Or they let the 50 Cent thing, and if they're like OD fans of 50 and 50 can do no wrong and 50 is this that, you're gonna kind of dick ride that that stance. So
so I mean, while we on Ja, like he's one. I was, it's funny. Ja's a running theme in the show, but I feel we had the tough guy era, you know what I mean? And like now, I just think that like as he's getting streamed and the younger guys and girls are like their music is unshameable, right? And like they're finding acts like a Ja Rule, that music is already being, to me, discovered, right? Or like rediscovered, I should say. And like that party R&B hip hop vibe, which like Drake is, took it to like a crazy level, you know what I mean? Like Ja would be like the predecessor to Drake, but Ja, I don't think is not even, his impact is not even done, man. Like I see in the next like 10, 15 years, like that feel good type of music. I think that the younger ones will be able to appreciate it even more than we were able to.
Especially because it's like I think like you said, it's right, like if he was doing the love songs, right, like there's some of them where they're not gonna, it's nothing you have to feel like ashamed about unless it was something super cheesy, right? Right. It's not like it was something about like murder, death, kill, right? Like it's those songs may be kinder to him with time, like you said, because of where the generations are going and what the labels are also making sure they get behind versus the type of music that they don't get behind, because that's another element here too.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So who you got, Ray, is one of the artists who don't get the roses that they deserve currently?
Oh man, you Renzo, you probably smelled this one a mile away. Mr. None other than my birthday twin, Mr. Ab Soul himself. That is my guy. Anytime I can put him in an episode, because I really love him as a rapper. You know me, I've always said he is, and even till now, he is the best rapper on TDE. TDE's been a disappointment in that they just decided that they forgot how to release music. Ab Soul, he's 4 albums in, with practically one classic to his name in Control System. Even on Black Panther, which came like I think after his last album, he had the best song on that album, in my opinion, Bloody Waters with Anderson .Paak. Okay. People will say that they miss lyrics in modern mainstream hip hop, which is a very valid thing. But you have an artist here that when he's dropped and he does get the support of his label pushing him, like the music is out there. But because he isn't auto-tuned or rapping on a trap beat or using like the so-called Migos flow, people aren't paying attention to it. Shame on them. This is a guy that like people say like J. Cole can rap or like Drake can rap, and I'm like, but you haven't. I know that there's a methodology. Maybe some people just craft records in a way that others like, because there's always that element. But it's like, if you think like J. Cole can rap, then like listen to Ab-Soul. If you think Drake can rap, tune into Ab-Soul. If you like Kendrick Lamar, his own label mate, bro, tune into Ab-Soul. He brings, and he's a thinker too. So you'll get intelligence out of there. And I'm not saying that every dope rap album is conscious or, it has to be intelligent, but he brings that. But that's something that can be in hip hop and should be appreciated more than it probably is. And he brings all these things. He's influenced by some of the greats. And I think Ab-Soul, I hope that he can one day, I hope he has like a Scarface kind of situation where his flowers eventually do come, so that he gets my vote like all the way.
Yeah, he's been ignored from my POV as far as like the audience that that basically buys TDE records. Basically, I'll say that audience that would stream and buy that music. I don't hear that name. And Renz, I'll let you continue on, but I did have AZ too. You know what I mean? Like I had AZ and Ja, and I feel like I had to mention AZ because you mentioned Ab-Soul. I think he's a direct predecessor.
Easily. Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Right off the back, the one guy I was thinking of, and our homie Steve will probably appreciate it, as much as everything is cool motherfucking G-Rap, man. Yes. Like, it's criminal in a sense because it shouldn't be that way, but like, I know if we're in circles and we're talking about like 80s rappers, you're gonna hear Kane, you're gonna hear KRS, you're gonna hear Rakim, but you won't hear G-Rap. Not initially. Like our circle, our circle will definitely, but like you're not gonna hear his name, and it always baffles me because like as much as we talk about like Rakim with the complex rhymes, like there's no G-Rap brought multi-syllables really into the forefront. You know what I mean? The mafioso side, we know he wasn't originally gangster rapper, like, we know Schoolie D and everything else, but he brought a different layer to it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no early Nas without G-Rap. There's definitely no Big Pun, without G-Rap. There's no Crooked Eye.
To his knee and kissed Cool G-Rap's hand when he met him. Like, that was documented.
So, like, and I say, like, if Pun, see, here's the other part of that though, because you got like a Nas who's built from Rakim's skeleton, lyrical skeleton.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Kane got Jay-Z's built from his lyrical skeleton. Pun is built from G-Rap's lyrical skeleton. Mm-hmm. And it's like sometimes when people like Pun passes away, that's a leg that G-Rap would have had for the next 10, 15 years in hip hop.
Yeah,
like, and they worked together too, Brandon. They did like a few songs together. Yeah.
So I'm not saying Pun is. I just use the Pun as a small example, but there's a lot of artists that don't have the playing field to kind of like, all right, G-Rap, you can get on my back now because I rode your back to get where I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in a sense.
Yeah. No, and you're right because, like I said, because even though Nas had some of the G-Rap, but he had more of the Rakim structure.
Totally.
But you know what I mean? But even Rakim phased out, okay, here's the new generation, of that version, but modified. You know what I mean? Same thing with Jay with, Big Daddy Kane, but G-Rap didn't really have because the closest was Pun, and then Pun, of course, obviously passed away.
Actually, what's the closest to people that everybody give him was probably Black Thought or say G-Rap.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But the peers.
But I think Pun was probably the most successful act to come from his cloth. Is what it is.
Yeah. So like, I mean, the peers, G-Rap was the first one that was coined your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. You know what I mean? So his peers, there's never been a question about his peers, indicating how ambitious was. It was like the overall hip hop community, outside of our type of, ears. If we're talking about like a casual fan, you say Cool G-Rap, they probably just look at you, who you talking about? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that one.
And so if you say Kane, I know who you're talking about, Kane, Rakim, Cool G-Rap, like, they might you know what I mean? Because they might not think about Road to Riches, you know what I mean? Or anything like that. They wouldn't really relate to that. Yeah. Fast Life, and so forth. And then another act I was thinking off the hand, and I think we could all agree to a certain level is Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Yeah, that's
no, and I'm gonna explain why though. I gotta.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean, you could one of the highest selling rap groups of all time, but they
sold more than Wu.
Yeah, they sold more than Wu, but at the same time, they were outcasts, and no pun intended, within their generation of hip hop. Though, like a lot of groups, didn't really ever give Bone respect. Like Fat Joe, they even said Fat Joe was one of the first dudes, period, who co-signed them, saying, "Yo, these dudes are thorough." Like they weren't getting a lot of East Coast love as far as peers, or really. So they got West Coast love, obviously, with Easy, but as far as like East Coast and everything else, and when you think about rap within the last 10 years, though, especially now we talk about Ja with the kind of sing rap. We got sing rap that's prevalent through Bone. Not only that, but melodic double time flows. We hear it through Kendrick. We heard it, with Big Crit. We hear it with so many artists, ASAP Mob, and so forth. And you hear that influence, but they don't get credit. Migos, obviously, between them and 3 6 Mafia. But you don't really hear that just dude like, yo, if it wasn't for Bone. Because to me, I felt like they were so ahead of their time with that sound that they still never got the respect because it wasn't the boom bap. It wasn't like the traditional hip hop sounds. Like, oh, they're doing a lot of singing. Is this really rapping? I remember when Art of War came out and they were playing it on 103.9, and they were kind of like, kind of side eyeing it, like, oh, don't know, because you can't hear what they're talking about. Oh, they're rapping too fast. Are they really rapping? Are they really spitting lyrics? It was almost like they were trying to.
Is that why you think they don't get the flowers?
In a sense, yeah. I mean, I think now, like a little bit now, but like because their style is so prevalent today. But when you hear some of these younger artists, you're not gonna hear them really mentioning Bone. You know what I mean? They might mention somebody maybe a couple years older than them, say, "Oh, I got this from such and such." But you rarely hear, "Hey, I got this," the melodic double time flow from Bone. You know what I mean? Or I was influenced by Bone. You know what I mean? You'll hear a couple guys who might say that, but you don't really hear on a big whole scale.
You don't hear Bone's name as much as you do Wu, and there's like no reason that should be the case given what's going on now. Like they did very, like different content, and there's probably some overlap, but the method in which they presented music, like Renzo's saying, they were different in their time. Nobody was doing it that way. They could sing, they could do it with melody, all of that. And look at where hip hop has been, and it's like Bone should be in so many conversations because of that, and they're not. So I agree with that. And Renzo, you know me, and I've started message board fights when I say, like, I prefer Art of War to Wu-Tang Forever when we talk double albums. You know what I mean? I prefer Bone to Wu in terms of group albums, not solo albums. I think Wu-Tang's got that locked down. But in terms of group albums, I think Bone has more good albums than Wu does. And that's just my taste, right? Like, it's not, but Wu also has a certain brand where, they had great marketing. They had the logo, the lingo, Wu-Tang, this Wu-Tang Forever, all of that. So I think that's also why you'll hear them more. But Bone kind of didn't have that, right? They didn't really have like one of the world's most recognized. That Wu logo, and I'm just using an example, it's like as recognizable as like a Nike logo. Bone never also really had that either. So I think there's various different things down to visuals where it was almost easy for them to fade. But it shouldn't be the case because if you're somebody that's younger and like the music of today where people are doing what they do, is like when you throw on their albums, you'll enjoy that too.
Well, yeah, a part of me wants to say, and we can move on, but a part of me wants to say some of that is Bone's fault. Even though, like, when you put out that type of music output, there should be no debate that you should be getting your roses, your flowers. But I think that some of the incongruency came as like how they were incongruent as a collective.
And I will agree with that. Like if you talk about like the turmoil, like Wu had the turmoil, but a lot of that was behind the scenes. But in-house, exactly. Bone, it was all, especially when it came to Busy Bone. You know what I mean? Was so public.
Flesh going to jail,
and everything.
Their thing was ruptured, man. And even from the beginning, I mean, when them losing Easy.
Yeah, and that was kind of losing Easy because that was like you know, their RZA in a sense as far as the architect, keep everything together.
That's exactly.
Once they had that, they didn't have that architect anymore.
Right.
You know, I remember and it's funny. I remember when Lazy Bone was kind of mentioning it because I guess he was like the de facto leader in a sense, and he kind of mentioned like that he didn't do a good enough job keeping egos in check.
And they were really young at that time too. Imagine taking that responsibility, and you're like 20.
Yeah.
These guys, they were super young. They were teenagers.
Yeah, because think on Crazy Bones' perspective. I remember Crazy Bones said, I just came out with Thug Mentality 1999 double album. And now the record label say, oh, you got to work on his Bone albums. Like, what about my, you know, because he's looking at it like, well, Busy had his time to shine. Let me have my time, you know, and then come in and find out half the album's already done. Like, you're not going to be on half these tracks, you know what I mean? And it was kind of resentment between, you know, that friction. And then, you know, how many times can we say that we go to a Bone concert and we see all 5 members, let alone 4?
Yeah, I think that still hasn't happened for me.
Zero time. Donut.
You know,
so,
well, you went to
I saw 3 members.
Yeah. And I also heard. Remember, we went to East 99 tour, and then it was Crazy, Flesh, and Wish, and I'm like, you know, I was like, I want my money back. Like,
no disrespect to you or Uncle Charles, but you know, like,
I don't want to see us at the Crossroads anymore.
Yo, I actually, I actually had one more. I don't know if.
Oh, go ahead. No, listen, this is free flow.
Ja Rule again. Yes.
Black Child. Anyway, nah, I'm gonna go producer here. I've kind of been saying this like for years. I think Brandon will like this one a lot. I think No ID should be getting more flowers. I think No ID belongs in the producer conversation. He's been doing this since the early 90s with Common, and over the years, look, he's worked with Jay, Nas, Kanye, Cole, Drake, Rihanna, like Jeannie Aiko, like look at the difference in generations with the names I just said right there, right? Like there's a lot of producers that emerged when he did that didn't get phone calls from the modern top names, and he did. You know what I'm saying? He's in demand. He's been in demand by some of the biggest names, even currently. You know, Kanye West literally said on Graduation, "No ID, my mentor. Let the story begin." Big Brother. Yeah. Kanye West is like bigging him up. You know what I'm saying? He did in terms of like recognizable songs, he's doing like I Used to Love Her, right? But then you fast forward to the future, he's done so much with Kanye, like Heartless, right? Like that's an obvious single. In terms of like stuff that charted that people will be like, well, where is his hits, right? He did the song with Jay, Rihanna, and Kanye, Run This Town, charted #2 on the charts, right? Like and this is well after the 90s, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's proven he can make standout tracks for artists for several decades and doesn't have a repetitive sound like some other legends do, right? We always knock Swiss Beats, right? Like Swiss is always in that conversation. But I would say if I had to pick if I was an artist right now and it was like pick one producer between these two to do your whole album, No ID or Swiss Beats, I'm picking No ID. And Swiss Beats is the bigger name. And I'm telling you, No ID is the better choice. He's checked a lot of the same boxes other legendary producers have. He's played major roles to classic albums in different eras, you know, whether it was Common's Resurrection or Kanye West's Dark Fantasy. He's been around, but he doesn't get mentioned as much, maybe because he don't have, I guess, enough top 40s, but like the top 40 isn't always a measure, you know, of your greatness. It's a measure of your familiarity. But I'm telling you, No ID, I would place over a lot of people who are already getting their flowers. And I think he deserves his flowers because he puts in excellent work and he is a master at what he does.
It's a big one, yo.
Sure.
And I got a producer up in there too.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was my other one.
Damn.
Now I know we were talking about like the tough guy stuff, and you know, as far as get our ducks in a row, getting certain names, and that was one thing I was thinking about too, because when we think about like the infancy of hip hop, like what hip hop was about, especially on the rapping aspect, it was about who was the best. You know, we even talked about that on the last episode with Posse Cuts, like when it came to like Pun or other rappers saying, "I'm trying to demolish you." Do we think like part of that mindset kind of prevented, especially with our generation, maybe so much more with the generation after us, that was harder for other MCs or even peers, you know, within the culture to say, "Hey, you're a dope dude. I like what you're doing," because to me, that's where I kind of pinpoint to that competitive nature, spirit competition that it was hard for you to say, yo, I really like your style. Because Rock Kim even spoke on it. He's like, yo, I wish I did collaboration with some of my peers back in the day. But like, I had too much pride to say, hey, you were nice, to get on there, because I felt that was a weakness to almost say that you were better than me. And if I was saying that, I'm meaning that I'm weaker. You know what I mean? Do we think that might came in play? Because to me, it's like, I think that competition edge, where we saw so much prevalent in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where it was harder for, you know, rap peers to say, hey, you're dope. I like your music. I fuck with you, you know, versus now, like, you know, Drake and them, oh, yeah, hey, we good, we friend, boom, you know, we're going to do this. Before, it's almost like you had to almost like compromise yourself in order to show that love and affection to, you know, to a fellow MC at that point.
Yeah, I think it's a give and take. I think the 2010s will do a better job with their legends, just because of the nuanced attitude of like teamwork, right? Like doing songs together and recognizing who's the best at the craft on certain levels. So I think that as a result, they'll do a better job in recognizing, like, giving everyone their flowers. Like it's impossible. Like, like Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Drake, Kanye, like the next fleet of Hall of Fame artists they're all gonna get their flowers. You know what I mean? And even the dudes under them are gonna get them, just because it's been made that way, which is a good thing. But the other side of it is like a little bit of that competitive edge is kind of lost. Cameron recently was speaking earlier, and he was like, yo, I didn't really do a lot of records with a lot of people I wanted to do, because we kept it in-house. We kept it Dipset. We didn't really want to mingle with other camps like that. Yeah. But you hear Cam saying that after the fact, like, yeah, man, it would have been dope to hear me and me and Raekwon together, or, me and Method Man, or just a Sean P, a boot camp track. I'm like, wow, I'm like that was on your radar? Like, I didn't even know he was even thinking about that.
That's when your computer was puting, like back then.
Right. That must be the SDE camera.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, that's the era of Cam you want doing those records. Yeah. Not the Purple Haze Cam. No.
But to answer your question, Rich, I think it's a twofold answer. It is. The whole tough guy, and I think every era like learns from each other. So I don't think we were as tough as the 80s, but the 90s were pretty damn tough, man.
Dude, I think a small part of it, not all of it, I think there's also an element of, right, like there's names we listed that, because they didn't necessarily do the numbers or have the huge endorsement deals that, that basically get these names in the faces of other people. I think that's another reason why, like, it's easy for the general public to overlook certain people that we name, right? Like, their music isn't shoved in our faces like other acts, right? And even, well, this is like before streaming, but they're not who the money wasn't behind them like it was for other acts. So I think there's a little bit of that. So it's easy for the general public, right? Not the people who really pay attention, but for the general public to not, to be like, oh, Swizz Beatz, but then no ID who? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's that element of publicity, and in addition to what you said, who were the bags behind when it came time to promote? I think that's also a part of it too, as far as in terms of like not getting their flowers right away, or ever.
For sure. I definitely agree with that, wholeheartedly. And then like I said, the generational thing that, as we already spoke on as well, and hip hop always been, for better or worse, known as a young man's sport. So when we talk about some of these younger artists not paying homage, like Migos is a clear example. They're literally spawns of Bone Thugs and 3 6 Mafia, but it was almost like pulling teeth that they didn't want to admit, hey, we got a lot of that from them. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like, oh, that's kind of take our shine away. You know what I mean? So you got that going on too. And it's unfortunate because it's funny, but it makes sense, because I remember even growing up, my grandfather was like, oh, he might heard like a Biggie song. Like, oh, where this song came from? Me being young, I didn't even care. I don't want to hear that old stuff. I grew up around it. I grew up with my grandparents, but I don't care about that. this is what I'm caring about. Now I'm getting older, like, oh, you kind of appreciate that more now because like you don't have this without this. You know what I mean? It works hand in hand. And I think the young generation starting to learn that, but then some of them are not, you know what I mean? So it's a give or take fashion, you know, for sure. So, you know, we discussed obviously about who got their roses, who didn't get their roses. But let's talk about more about the platforms as far as where we look at, you know, different awards about giving roses to artists that we know and love. Like, so a clear example, we kind of talked about throughout. We had an episode about it, and we talked about after the fact. You know, Nas obviously won Grammy for King Disease Best Rap Album, where we thought, hey, that's good. But then we also look at it like, damn, it took 17 nominations, took over damn near 30 years for Nas to get the accolade he should have got decades ago. You know what I mean? And how, you know, it's like that Training Day. It's back when Denzel won Best Actor. You know what I mean? So we already know it's a problem, obviously. We know how we all feel about the Grammys, but at the same time, we put so much energy here. Why are we not putting other energy elsewhere? Like we used to have, like, you know, the VH1 hip hop honors. We had, like, you know, the Ozone, the Source Awards, Soul Train, BET Awards, where our culture, you know, between black and brown was getting more love. Like, why are we so fighting for these other people so much versus not supporting our own platforms to give us that dedication, to give the roses that we think our artists should deserve? What do we think that issue is there where it lies beyond that?
I think the answer is in your. Oh, my bad. The answer.
Oh, you got,
is
bro.
Appreciate it, man. The answer I think was actually in your question, right? Like, you know, I think all you would really have to do, like, it's a 1, 2, 3 thing, but you know, the same way you can direct all your energy into, you know, Grammy this or all those other platforms. There's more of us than there is them. Redirect your attention to that. Put the same amount of energy into keeping, you know, like the artist's name in the conversation via like social media, as you would like a Cardi B or Beyonce. You know, you can do that also with platforms, you know, like, so the same way you do that for artists and the way you trigger trending topics or going viral and stuff, that's based on the public. That's what we do. So it's like, so you already know you have power there. You have to redirect it to the other things. It's just that platforms like the Grammys or whatever, again, it goes back to they have the bags behind them to get all the promo. It's shoved in your face. It's billed as this prestigious thing. It's literally about redirecting your attention and your resources to those other platforms. And even if other things have to be built, look, like these other things that are, you know, had to start somewhere. And I think it's about redirecting your time and resources to those other things. And we're in the era of social media where you can get word around quicker. You can, like I said, you can cause you know, things to go viral or trending topics. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like, if we can make the Karens of the world go viral, why can't we direct that also to like these other platforms, like you said? You know what I'm saying? So don't make a Karen more popular than the other platforms. You know what I mean? This is a loose example, but you know what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yo, I remember watching, I don't know if it was like Telemundo or something, and because I didn't grow up with cable. I didn't have cable until I had a job, and I could like I could buy it. My mom was like not having that. But I remember watching like Big Pun receive this award on some Latin channel that was like not even a real. I'm like, it wasn't even on cable.
But all the women were gorgeous on it too.
Yeah, women were beautiful, magnificent. It was like Willow. But I'm like, I remember looking back, like that wasn't even a major station, or, you know, at the time, like, oh man, what the heck, man? What is this, man? Big Pun, you need to go on a better station. But like looking back, man, that's phenomenal. Like it doesn't matter. That's TV.
And that was like his community too, you know, like the bilingual, you know, like it's got to start somewhere. It's not always going to be Grammys the first time out, you know?
Right. And so, yeah, to answer, you know, the point, like as Ray said, we can't, if that could happen in 99, 2000, man, like all the, it doesn't even need to make a network, right? Like all the technology we had, you know, the people's cameras are more forward functioning than the best mechanism 10 years ago.
Yeah, dude.
We can create whatever we want, basically.
The computers of yesterday are in our phones now. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Literally.
Yeah. So, in short, it's within us. It's within us.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah. It's simple, man. It's simple mathematics. You gotta love a Joey
Crack.
We'll got still out there, motherfuckers.
See, that's it. But we also gotta edit. Kill us bet it all on pun, because one verse, dead them all. Just end the episode right there.
Hey, he was in the Bronx. I'm sorry.
Yeah, shout out to Big Pun Plaza.
I still got the people.
Look, and that took 20. Look, a little bit of an example. Do you think Big Pun Plaza would have happened sooner if if Pun had passed away during the social media era? You know what I mean? Because remember, Liza was at it for 20 years. So to intertwine it into your question, Renzo, and I don't know if some of your responses, and Brandon, I agree with you. Do you think something like that would have happened if Pun had only passed away last year? Do you think it would have been there this year? Because I think, look, there's already didn't they do something? No, I think it's a mural for Big L. I'm getting my things mixed up. I know Big L got something, but
Big L got a mural, but no,
easily about the street name, it
wouldn't have taken 20 years, right? Like,
I think that would be a absolute given, because even Pumpkinhead, underground rapper, he got a street name, and we know about Pumpkinhead, but does the general hip hop community? No, but he got street name, and that's more from the social media era more than anything. But one thing I was thinking about too, as far as correlations between like Grammys, and I'm looking at almost on a deeper level as well, segregation and civil rights movement. So think about it in this kind of concept here. So prior to civil rights movement integration happening, everything, like as far as our music, culture, whatever, it was separate from mainstream in a sense. Like we only had our own avenues because we couldn't be on the main platforms. But when integration happened, and similar, we see the business, we start leaving what we know, because like, we can go here now, or we can be accepted now by the white folks now. So like, if I can go to IHOP now, now I can go for this Grammy versus maybe this local award for my community, because this is going to be more prestige, because I'm being accepted by your quote unquote oppressor at that point in time. You know what I mean? Where we look at now, because look, before, because when Grammys were showing us up, we had the Source Awards popping off, we had the Vibe Awards popping off. But when like Lauryn Hill, let's say some other artists that we know and love got awards, it's like, we don't want that. We don't want that, that grade B award. We want grade A. So we kind of downed our own awards, our own platforms, in order to get those higher awards. You know what I mean? So we always had the avenues to do it, even beyond before social medias. But it's like we didn't respect ourselves enough to say, hey, our awards from our people, our culture is more important to what they think. You know what I mean? It's 2021. Why we had to wait for Nas, like for other artists? Pac never got a Grammy. You know what I mean? We could talk about Grammys that Drake got, another, Post Malone, all the other artists.
Ja Rule don't got a Grammy.
Really, exactly. So many people who have done so much for our culture, who have not got recognition from these platforms, and we'll say, hey, we're not going to support this, we're going to boycott. But we don't, like you said, we don't use that same energy into our platforms. You know what I mean? Because, we can talk about so many different artists who won't even show up for like a BET award or a VH1 Hip Hop Honors, because they rather be on the Grammys or get recognition for the Grammys. And when they do, they throw a pity party. But it's like, if they didn't love you then, what makes you think they're going to love you now?
Yeah.
You know
like,
what I mean?
like a Beyonce and Jay, they be guilty of that, of like not going to the smaller stuff.
Yeah, they when they get like when people get too famous. I don't like that about like celebrities, especially like with music, when you become, and I know that there's an element of like, it's like, oh, it's for your brand, so you seem more exclusive, but it's like, yo, like you're a billionaire. You know what I mean? Like you could literally be doing all this change. Yeah. Like Kanye's now a billionaire. Kanye's supposed to be the one who doesn't play by the rules at all. Doesn't do it either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's this I don't know if it's also like even like without being a billionaire, right? I also feel like a lot of the people who get in, who come from nothing, are sometimes willing to play by the rules because where they're at now was better than where they were at. Not everybody, but I think that happens too. Like the money directs them because they fought so hard to go from nothingness to that. But again, like I'm telling you, there's more of us than there is them. And it takes, but I know that industry can be very harsh on people who don't comply.
Oh yeah, you're gonna go against the grain,
Yeah,
for sure.
like you get blackballed, you will get no more endorsements, all of that. I do think there's a lot more. So it would have to be like, I think it would have to be like a grassroots thing, but it's like, that's why it takes very special people to, have the bravery to do that. It's not just, there's a lot of people. There's all the vets now, the guys that we love from the 90s, like that have pockets, could have been done it. You don't even have to be a billionaire. Nas is about to have $100 million to his name. You know what I'm saying? Like Eminem, how much money does he have? You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of these other guys and it's not happening. But and you get those three people in a room together. How much funds do they have right there to be like, yo, we're gonna start our own thing?
That's it.
Independent. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, and it always was cool to me that Cormega's first album that was like commercially released, which Testament was the Def Jam shelved album. But Cormega's 2001 release, it won independent album of the year, and it was always cool that was a thing. It was like, it wasn't televised, but it was actually like an event, a ticketed event. Like you go there, like, and all the executives, as long as you had an independent contract, at that point, I don't know, we have to look on who was independent in 2001, but I always thought that was cool that Mega got that award for that. And he always, like, still to this day, he's like, that's like his most coveted thing. Like it wasn't like being on Def Jam having a $500,000 budget, or being the hottest in Queensbridge, or the Dis with Nas, or the Firm, or whatever. He's like, yo man, I got independent album of the year in 2001.
Yeah, because no one he earned that. He earned it. He earned it. He earned it. He earned it. Yep, I can understand that, man.
All right, well, let's wrap things up. We talk about this a quick lightning round thing, but given we talk about giving roses and whether it's valid or what's being sincere. How we feel about clout chasing? Do we think that's been a major problem? Like I when DMX passed away, I had we had people, Matt Taylor, shout out to Matt, Moss Brewery, good beer, especially in the PA area. He made the post talking about, I haven't seen these so-called X fans when X was alive showing love. Why y'all saying RIP right now? You had Game saying, similar sentiments. Do we think this is an issue of problems? I looked at it personally, like, I don't care if you didn't listen to DX for, last 5-10 years. If he played an integral part of your life at any point, nobody should tell you how to grieve or show respect to that artist.
Yes,
like, I can tell you personally, like, I didn't play X for maybe 2-3 years, prior to the versus battle. You know what I mean? And he still wasn't on my constant rotation, but
I yell what that, like every other day. So
exactly. So
yeah, Ray like
people like trying to nitpick, like, oh, you clout chasing for that, like. It's almost like, how dare you?
What?
You know what I mean?
Like literally, what? Like, come on. Like,
oh man,
Lorenzo,
No,
I agree with you. I can't stand whenever anyone dies. There's a you know what's also a form of clout chasing? When people accuse others of clout chasing. Funkmaster Flex just did the very same thing.
Yeah,
when
so hypocritical.
Right. Hypocritical. So like, and even like a non-big names, right? When people, I remember when like Heavy D passed away, rest in peace, right? I remember like somebody on my Facebook feed did the same thing. Oh, you weren't talking about Heavy D yesterday, blah, blah, blah. So rest in peace. I'm like, are you shitting me? I was just like,
he wasn't alive yesterday.
No. I mean, like, like back then at that time.
Yeah.
He said he wasn't alive. Come on, I had nothing but hate for that person. But I'm just saying that, like Renzo, I agree with you. Like, people act like you're going to be listening to everybody at the same time in case they die. Like, that doesn't matter. Sometimes, like you're listening to different things just because somebody left and maybe you hadn't listened to them recently. That's like you said, you once did like them, you brought some of their contributions to your life with you over the years. It doesn't mean you have to be listening to it every day, but even if it was just one song, some people might be like, oh, I didn't really know him, but I love that song, rest in peace. There's nothing wrong about doing the human thing and saying rest in peace to somebody who passed before their time. And people clout chase by trying to point out other potential clout chasers. But I do think there are people who will want to look cool and be like, oh, yo, DMX, and, you know, can't name a song. I do think there's that. But people chase clout by trying to point out clout chasers, in my opinion.
Yo,
sure.
Well said. And you know, peace to Matt. And we're gonna have him on here.
And I'm not getting at Matt. Just
he's
not gonna let me in the brewery.
Yeah. We're gonna do a collab.
Matt's definitely the homie.
We're gonna do a collab with him soon. But like, here's the other side of the clout chasing thing. When hip hop heads, official hip hop heads, there's a thing that we do too that's annoying, and it's like, you know. And I know Matt was coming from a place of sincerity,
right? Sincerity, yeah.
But it's a thing that we do in our hip hop community that it's like, oh, well, I'm the expert, and you know, how many times did you listen? What album do you know? What song do you know? And it becomes a freaking quiz. And it's like, yo, if you know one,
you know what measuring contest? Yeah, like everybody wants to be like the end all, like the supreme person, like like those are the worst people to talk to, bro.
It's like, yo, that person's experience is their experience. And honestly, it felt good on Friday, Saturday, Sunday to walk outside and hear DMX. Yo, it felt like 98, man. It felt like summer 98, yo. I was like, oh man.
I walked outside, I'm still in the birds right now. I walked outside and I hearing the intro for It's Dark and Hell is Hot. I'm like, right next door. I was like, that made me shit almost shed a tear. I'm like, yo,
beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful, bro. So it's like, if that's the outcome, I don't care if you fake your way to that. Okay, good job.
I just think like people just focus on the wrong thing for attention. Like they're like, you know, oh, you wasn't doing this, Renzo. I've seen that over the years in like just different like online forums. Like everybody's just so eager to look like they're the one, they're the know-it-all or whatever. And it's just like, if only you knew how opposite you actually come off when you do that. Like for real.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. And to me, especially in this generation too, it's so much like nitpicking versus like, hey, let people express how they need to express. Whether it's like I said, one song, multiple albums. If that one song got you through a certain time period, then so be it. You know, so be it.
There's literally nothing wrong with saying rest in peace to somebody that died. If you overplay your hand, right, that's a such thing, then you're doing it to yourself. But rest in peace. Like, that one really strikes a chord with me. That's why I keep harping on it. It's just like, yo, who the hell are you to tell me who I can say rest in peace to or not? Like, who gave you this authority? Shut the hell up.
Yeah. Man, but
I'm the mad rapper over here now. Sorry. Like,
no, we love it here. We love it here, man. That's how we do here on Tres Leches Review, man. Raw, uncut, and gritty. But you know what I mean? This will wrap things up. You know what I mean? We'll obviously, you know, we're on the audio platform now, Spotify, Amazon Music. Soon Apple Music. We're going to work the stuff behind the scenes.
We got to turn on
it.
Yes, and you know we'll have this up on YouTube the next day for our YouTube viewers. And listen, we're almost at 100 subscribers. I know y'all need to show us some more love because y'all be watching some of our videos, but y'all haven't subscribed yet. Let's hit that benchmark. Now, I mean, much love, much appreciated. Exactly. Because he got a bald head.
I got a Brody, right?
Yeah. But any final thoughts or comments before we wrap up, gentlemen?
Yo, I just wanted to, while we're talking about roses and flowers, appreciation for hip hop. Now that things are opening up somewhat, everybody got to take their asses down to DC, get a ticket. I don't care if you buy a ticket now and you can't go until next year. You got to go to the African American Museum in DC. It is amazing. They start you in from the ground up. So you go from literally like the beginning of where African Americans started in America. So they take you through slavery, they take you through beyond slavery. So like when you get to the top, you get to like hip hop, you get to the modern era. So there's a hip hop.
So it's like metaphorical, like not metaphorical, but they literally, it's like down, up, you're ascending as you're going through.
It's
progress.
Started from the bottom, now we here.
There you go.
You get an elevator, and it's deep. It's like, honestly, you probably should start from the top down because you know it's a little easier. Like we started from the bottom. And
it's like starting from the saddest part of the movie, right? Like that's what it is. Like I don't even want to keep going. Like, you know, like
energy. Like, oh my God. They're like, oh no, it gets better. You're on the 3rd floor now. But
No,
anyway,
but
in
that
short,
makes sense,
there's a
yeah.
hip hop whole level, man, and it's just incredible. It's Eazy-E, it's Run DMC, it's Beastie Boys.
Oh, like
You got Cold Chill
Origins.
Records. Yeah, DJ Marley Marl. Like Artifacts. It's like they got the hand of like, they got like somebody's glove from like it was a Michael Jackson did a show with like Kane or something. I didn't know that even happened.
Michael Jackson Kane?
Yeah, it was like at the Apollo. Like he just, like, I think Kane showed up. Kane was a special guest, and the glove from that show was there. It's just tons of dope stuff, man. Jay Dilla's tape deck is there. That is the ultimate flower institution, man. Everybody got to check that out.
That's dope.
Yeah,
No,
and I'm interested once it opens up the hip hop museum in the Bronx. I think
Yeah.
they're talking about maybe next year, maybe possibly in 2022, that might be possibly open. So
that's going to be
what I
a
wanted to check out.
Tres trip, live
Yes.
broadcast and all.
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
And on that note, thank y'all for tuning in. Peep us at Tres Leches Radio, everything online, and we will catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.
Peace. Say bye, Willow. Bye, guys.
Peace, Willow. Paul.